I don't want to date an Asian person. I don't say that, but my actions do that, and I want to know why. There are Asians around. I just never, I don't know. It's an odd thing. It's an odd phenomenon.
I remember when I was younger, I was really fascinated with guys with blue eyes, which sort of eliminates the entire Asian race immediately.
Probably the three of us probably don't really date Asian girls. It's probably because we're more comfortable with Caucasian girls because we've been brought up in more of a
relate to
environment.
Asian girls.
Asian girls are probably a little bit more, not necessarily all. This is a stereotype, but sometimes a little bit more uptight and not always true. But I mean, for the purposes that I'm looking for right now, I mean.
So getting back to Asian men, I think that there's a segment that's very active in buying the nice car, having the boat, belonging to the health club so that they can meet women.
Notice, I'm very conscious of mixed marriages and mixed relationships. When I go out, I always notice them. My husband and I say, there's some more miscegenation. That's what we call it. There's some more miscegenation.
Lay your hammer, lay your hammer, lay your hammer, lay your hammer, kid. They want the drummer, bring it to 'em. Fuck 'em. All rise, meet the preacher. This pro doula been diagnosed diabetic, kleptic. I'm your host, rock the vanilla, suede British, Staten Island, more minutes. Otherwise, posing as a dentist in my lenses. Pinball, machine gun rack, spoke the Arafat. Laundry man Grady can't blow in this hat. What? Is it raw now? Change it around, it's war now. The final countdown commences. The battleground is 12 inches of wax paper, breaking down your defenseless, senseless nature. Banks things with Mar Baker, twin towering a skyscraper. Kingdom come, meet your maker.
Another sound voice dying, crowd noise multiplying. Don't let the buzz slide in, bust out the sirens. Sure win, lure 'em in like exotic women. I smile with a sinister grin and finish 'em. You're fucking with hoods, get your goods pushed back. You fraud, pull the wool off your Hollywood act.
Yo, the track melts in half, lifters have to spray meaning. Supreme being all that I can be in. Picture wavy beavers, me cleaving your receiver. Fly sunny Chiba, leather buckets, dirty beeper. Fast floating grill, resident to Honey Hill. Stainless steel ration, shiesty catching money bill.
It's all gravy, we floating through like the British Navy. Fresh design, lady, love the fade, keep it wavy. The mixed drink, throw the dick in the drink. Blink, baby girl, caught ya. Exotic album, Cuban link, custom AVs, beige panties. Who can front on these please? Y'all niggas broke, so what your uncle sell?
Yo, high-ranked officials and armed tanks and missiles, blood drizzle. Simple fact, he slept on the issue that before he started jerking off joysticks and Sega, I make tapes on 100-watt amps and Sherman Vegas. RZA fine-tune it, ship a mill units. MC's ass who be those rhyme killers in mass. No doubt, difficult task to last in the square. Beware, infinite amount of darts is in the air. I'm victorious, no opponents, and blast through components and microphones. Watch the whole world live the moment. Anything anti that came approaching this. Incapable love speech remains motionless.
Lay your hammer, lay your hammer, lay your hammer, lay your hammer, kid. Lay your hammer.
It goes back to this whole media image of ourselves. Asian women or women of color are many times seen as exotic, lotus blossom type things, and Asian men are the ultimate white men are the ultimate symbol of virility and manhood. Asian men are shit. And sometimes I envision that this couple is, here we are, here's a media product. We have the ultimate male and the ultimate female here.
We went to a movie, and when he came to get me, he had brought this huge stack of pornographic magazines. And I was like, why did you bring these? And he was like, oh, they're really cool. I think you'll enjoy them. And I was like, yuck.
No, gives me pleasure, and it is my duty.
I said, well, I went out with Abe and it really didn't go too well in my opinion. And he said, yeah, he told me about it. And I said, oh yeah, what did he tell you? And he said, well, he was really disappointed. And I said, what do you mean disappointed? And he said, well, he didn't want to tell me. He said, well, he was kind of expecting that you were going to bring out the massage oil and walk on his back and stuff like that. And he really felt ripped off that you didn't. And I was like, Jesus, how am I supposed to have learned this in Berea, Ohio?
I know a few people, white men who have gone to China, studied there for a year, and now come back to America and say, I'm one with Chinese culture, and in order for me to be one, I got to marry a Chinese-American woman. And plain and simple, that's bullshit.
It's usually the way they kind of look at you, like they're just staring at you and saying something about, oh, are you part Asian, or is, they usually say Oriental, are you Oriental, are you Japanese, or something like that, and you can just tell that they're so fascinated, and then they sort of start taking apart your face, like, oh, well, you look sort of Japanese, but then your eyes look a little different, and you're kind of going, geez, you feel like more like a science specimen than a person.
You see your gaggle of non-Asian guys hanging around at these Asian events, Bonadori or Japanese coronation, queen thing, or even some of the specialty stores down here that, they're hanging around in their packs, drooling away, hanging around in the aisles of the stores, looking around the aisles.
Typically, the nice ones would be like, they would be white guys who came to Asian student functions, and they would hang around with all the women, and they would kind of come up and say, you're really beautiful, do you mind if I ask what race you are? And they wouldn't ask your name. They wanted to know your ethnic background. They did not care what your name was. And it's like, this is a bad sign. And then there was like a couple of people that were just very aggressive, and they would come up to me because I was half, and they thought that I had special insight into Asian women, but because I was half white that I would be maybe more approachable. And they would come up to me and say, well, I went to this Asian students' dance last night, and none of the Asian women there would dance with me. I think they've really got it against white men. Asian women have this whole reputation of being very sexual and very knowing, but I think they're really racist against white men. What's wrong with them anyway? They seem really frigid to me. What have they got against me? And I'm like, Jesus, could it be your personality?
Hi, thanks for calling my ad. I'm a 6'3", 195-pound, solid build, brown hair and blue eyes, young professional, new to the Bay Area. I would enjoy being a pleasant, young, or middle-aged Asian lady for romance, friendship, and possibly a relationship. I'm very down to earth. I love to dance and check out the town. If you're interested, please leave a phone number and the best time to call. I will be discreet, and have a nice day. Thanks for calling me. Bye.
To me, attraction to the opposite sex doesn't have anything to do with the race. I think it has to do with other qualities about the individual. I feel that there are some extremely attractive black men, Asian men, Caucasian men, so that itself is not a distinction. Yeah.
And I thought he walked so cute. His hair bounced with him when he walked. So I used to sit and stare at him.
I don't know why. It just never occurred to me that I should go out and date, a Chinese girl.
One day I told him, I think you must have been Japanese in your previous life.
Even though I'm intensely proud to be Filipina, I truly believe in the equality of all races. I truly believe that. And I don't believe that because my husband is white, that makes him any less, worthy of me than somebody who might have been Filipino and not love my kids or my grandkids as his own.
I don't know. I think that as far as cultures are concerned, I've learned a lot from him. I don't know if it's helped in any way.
Chris, did anything happen tonight between you and Joe? You mean you want to marry her? You wouldn't have said it that way if I were white. It can never work out, Chris. If he feels like that, what can I expect from you?
Everything. Because I love you.
Why are we attracted to the Anglo race? I don't know why. I mean, I looked at my own patterns, and I don't consciously say, I don't want to date an Asian person. I don't say that, but my actions do that, and I want to know why. There are Asians around. I just never, I don't know. It's an odd thing. It's an odd phenomenon.
I remember when I was younger, I was really fascinated with guys with blue eyes, which sort of eliminates the entire Asian race immediately.
Probably the three of us probably don't really date Asian girls. It's probably because we're more comfortable with Caucasian girls because we've been brought up in more of a
relate to
environment.
Asian girls.
Asian girls are probably a little bit more, not necessarily all. This is a stereotype, but sometimes a little bit more uptight and not always true. But I mean, for the purposes that I'm looking for right now, I mean.
So getting back to Asian men, I think that there's a segment that's very active in buying the nice car, having the boat, belonging to the health club so that they can meet women. I have to admit that of Asian men of dating age, I have very little contact with them.
I guess I've met a lot of Asian women who have written off Asian American men, saying that, buying into the stereotypes of them being wimpy and not having any passion and just some terrible stereotypes that have been perpetuated in the media for decades.
Because evil Ming the Merciless is about to turn the Earth into a frozen snow cone! Until the arrival of Flash Gordon, American hero.
I'll melt Ming's muscles?
Flash's laser works, and Mandrake and Phantom give Ming a 1-2 punch.
Ming, you're all wet.
The male is either non-existent or there's something to be negated. Wimps, gangsters, bad guys, creatures.
求佛祖慈悲，解脱我历代祖先，因为我和一个蛮夷结合而蒙受的耻辱和痛苦，饶恕了我这个可怜的人，孽缘难尽，不能自拔。
And so I brought out the picture, and there's like this absolute stunned silence, and they're looking at him. And my mother says, "Oh my God," and starts going into this whole racist trip about don't bring home any black babies, and you're going to kill your father. Don't you see what you're doing to your father? Of course, my father is like absolutely silent, and we have never talked about it since then. But my mother was just like, "What are you doing to us? This is horrible." And I was really, now I think, oh, it was really naive. But I was really surprised. I was shocked. I was like, wait a minute, how is this different from what you did? It's different. It's really different. This guy is a black guy, said with all kinds of distaste. That was really kind of a sad experience because he was probably the best boyfriend I ever had.
When I knew that I was going to have a black daughter-in-law for sure, not going to just be my son's girlfriend, I had to face my own feelings. Did I have racist tendencies that I was just suppressing? And I really had to deal with that. And my daughter-in-law is not a fair-skinned black woman. She's very dark. And I thought to myself, is that it? Because she's so dark? Is that why I have these sort of, why don't you date this lighter-skinned black woman? I could deal with that.
Really, the negatives come when we interface primarily with the Japanese community. There really isn't a whole lot of tolerance in the Japanese community for interracial relationships. Trying to ignore you, pretend you aren't there, or things of that sort. And it's very obvious at times.
There was a girl from Taiwan who asked him why he would want to date an American, that he really should be dating a Taiwanese girl, like maybe herself.
I don't think the issue of out marriage is completely resolved in this generation. I think it will be for the next generation, but for this generation, I think there's still a kernel of an issue left there for them to resolve.
My mother was very hurt. You know, she had dreams of just, you know, having her daughter marry another Filipino man. Her first question was, okay, so you like women? And I said, yeah. So is your girlfriend white?
I had met Heyman in high school before Martha had met Paul. So by the time Paul came along, I think I had kind of wormed the fact into Mom that, you know, an Asian was okay to go out with an Asian and they treated you great.
Mom was going, oh, he's really, really nice, but boy, he's not white, and gee whiz. And, but of course, he never thought that later down the line we would be dating. And so, of course, he brings up the fact later on of, well, geez, now what does your mom think? She's got 2 daughters that are going out with Asian people.
I thought of my sons, the ones that are single, and I thought, I wish they could meet them. I would have liked them at least to know Filipino women. Whether they marry them or not is nothing, but I would like to see them know them and date them and then make a choice.
But what would happen to our children? What would they be?
What would they be? They'd be half Japanese, half American. They'd be half yellow and half white. They'd be half you, they'd be half me. That's all they're gonna be.
Most of our parents married out. They were forced to marry out.
My dad is Nisei, second-generation Japanese, and he was born and raised in the town I grew up in. And my mom is Dutch, and also raised in Southern Oregon.
They married Native American or Caucasian or people from other races outside of the Filipino community.
And everybody watched the way we were raised. In a lot of ways, we really felt like we were on stage all the time we were growing up because everybody in the community sort of wanted to know how we were going to turn up. We describe it now as feeling like we were under a microscope.
I'd like to have them be aware of their culture, the Japanese aspect of it. Granted that we are Americans in that, you know, the melting pot of wherever, but I'd like to have they have the experience of knowing their Japanese heritage, also, you know, their European heritage.
So I think it's important that my children know their roots. They know who they are in terms of their cultural background, because I don't ever want them to say they're ashamed.
When I was dating this white guy, I didn't eat any of the Japanese food I had in my refrigerator.
You don't like sake.
I hate it. I sort of stopped that side of me, and then when David and I got together, we started eating all the Japanese food again. So it seemed like I felt like I was kind of losing a part of myself, that I had to make more of an effort to keep that side of me alive.
And the successful relationships are the negotiated relationships, are the relationships where people are prepared to give and take.
I think he was very, very, to me at that time, very interesting because he was very different from me. And that proved at one point to be a matter of interest, and in other ways it proved to be a very part of the struggle, I think.
If he's really mad, he storms out of the room and he's silent forever.
Not forever, but for a long time.
Well, I do try to give him time. It's not like I say that we argue and 5 minutes later we try to resolve it. He does go off for a while. Yeah, we have loud discussions.
Yeah. During our first year of marriage, if we have a problem, I just keep it to myself. You know, that's how we were brought up, try to tolerate and everything. And so he would say that if you don't tell me what your problem is, I'll never know, and we'll never know each other. So I changed from one extreme to the other. Every time there's a problem, I'll let him know real loud, and you know, and so we fought and almost become a habit to fight over every little things. But we finally got to know each other better, and then I think it's at the midpoint right now where, you know, it's pretty good.
Well, not so much like, well, let's go to Thai food tonight and Indian food the next night and Mandarin Thursday, you know. But or someone who just like wears Guatemalan clothes or something, you know, just someone who's like there and not even, and they don't have to know everything, but who's gonna try, you know, who's just gonna put it out.
I don't have to explain things, like the fact that his parents were in internment camps during the war, and so was my dad, and our grandparents were both Issei, and we both come from farming backgrounds, and there's a lot of stuff that's just, there's so much in common, it just seems like there's a comfort level.
Let's say with another sensei especially, there's a lot of things you don't have to explain, you know, like they ask you, like those who are not, didn't grow up in that environment, ask you, why do you do this, or why do that, or how come you're so quiet, or why don't you say this at this time? Whereas with the sensei, they understand.
There's a lot of things that are very deep that we won't understand about each other for many, many years. And it just takes many years. You know, I mean, we were both, she was 23, I was 25 when we met. That's 23 and 25 years of life that the other person is not going to become aware of. There's just too much there. And little by little things will come out, and maybe over the next 25 years, we will know everything about each other. But I don't think from the cultures we came from being so different, you know, there's no way in just a few years you're going to find out everything about each other.
She's very understanding of how I feel about a lot of stuff, you know, and we relate to each other very well in that. We just get along with each other very well, that's all.
The most important things to me in finding a happy relationship are a person with intelligence, a person with wit.
Passion.
Gotta have the world, but not flaunt it.
Physical attraction.
The shape of their wrists, the way they smell.
A confidence without a cockiness.
A person who does not shun responsibility.
Understand where I come from, how I was raised, what my culture is.
Patience. You've got to have patience.
Good father would be a good example for the children.
We consider female traits in men who still are very confident of their maleness.
Sensitivity to other people's feelings.
I mean, she can't just be, it's really airheadish.
He could sing like Smokey Robinson.
Some kind of shared values.
Last one would be just plain both people are willing to let each other be what they want to be.